Yeah. Hey man, all I'm saying is, nigga, you always got something to say. It's like you don't shut up.
Blazing on the track.
A lot of niggas died 1865. Single Michael fled, how I ain't gon' let it ride. Everybody hollering, black was never on your side. They do maps to tell your apps where you sleep at night. They put that white man on. Got you begging them for answers like that white man know. Had you swearing you was African, that's that white man home. Had you proud to be a savage, that's that white man's zone. And I ain't talking shit, this by definition. And being savage was our nature, y'all be non-existent. We done took your ass out when we was in them kitchens. Instead of showing you how to live and how to maintain business. White supremacy fake. Only way that shit real is if you do what they say. We the guards of the gate, so when they say they fear God, now you know what they made.
The Hollywood.
Work is on its way, boy.
Got a 4-5 with a new drum, but a new vibe in the street.
I sold my heart right to the streets and I can't play with that. This shit that I did for the streets, I'm not gonna talk about that. How about my youngins, a new 40, told them play with that. So when the niggas spin the black, how you gonna play with that? Got a 4-5 with a new drum, but a new vibe in the streets. Laying down on the back blocks that I've died in the streets. 4-5 with a new drum, but a new vibe in the streets. Laying down on the back blocks that I've died in the streets. Bodies on my conscience, and I won't let it. Paranoia taking over, I won't let it. Out your right mind, you won't sober. But the streets took a toll on you, but you a soldier. This shit I seen too many times before. Drugs taking over, they won't let them go. They make the wrong move, fuck it, we gon' let it blow. He just let me know that niggas' minds ain't right. Only killing for protection, my young niggas got obsessions. Out they gon' press him, consumed by the hate. Another snake that's gon' bless him. He's supposed to be your brother, but he's screaming out that slide shit. Got a blood oath with my family, that's my tie. Y'all put your faith in me, and now we got it, we gon' all shine. And that's my word to the streets. 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 That's my word, yeah. I sold my heart right to the streets and I can't play with that. This shit that I did to the streets, I'm not gonna talk about that. How about my youngins, a new 40, told them play with that. So when the niggas spin the black, how you gonna play with that? Got a 4-5 with a new drum, but a new vibe in the streets. Laying down on the back blocks that I've died in the streets. 4-5 with a new drum, but a new vibe in the streets. Laying down on the back blocks that I've died in the streets.
Father God, first I ask for forgiveness. I ask that you look past our times that we have fell short. Father God, for that one who do not know your love, Father God, know that is my purpose to be a lighthouse in your grace. Wherever you lead my steps, whatever obstacle or hardships become, I pray that you give us strength in the face of the enemy. Father God, thank you for listening to my soul. Amen.
I sold my heart right to the streets and I can't play with that. This shit that I did for the streets, I'm not gonna talk about that. How about my youngins, a new 40, told them play with that. So when the niggas spin the black, how you gonna play with that? Got a 4-5 with a new drum, but a new vibe in the streets. Laying down on the back blocks that I've died in the streets. 4-5 with a new drum, but a new vibe in the streets. Laying down on the back blocks that I've died in the streets.
Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It's your brother Aboriginal Power. This is the Wake and Bake Show. Let's get it.
Yeah. Hey man, all I'm saying is, nigga, you always got something to say. It's like you don't shut up.
Blazing on the track.
A lot of niggas died 1865. Single Michael fled, how I ain't gon' let it ride. Everybody hollering, black was never on your side. They do maps to tell your apps where you sleep at night. They put that white man on. Got you begging them for answers like that white man know. Had you swearing you was African, that's that white man home. Had you proud to be a savage, that's that white man's zone. And I ain't talking shit, this by definition. And being savage was our nature, y'all be non-existent. We done took your ass out when we was in them kitchens. Instead of showing you how to live and how to maintain business. White supremacy fake. Only way that shit real is if you do what they say.
All right, let's get it straight to the intro. Let's go.
Whatever it takes. The alleyway.
Coco, this your season right now.
They won't see me. They won't let me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I put attention, all of my blood, all of my veins. They started with Perky, now that hair right up his veins. You started with serving, now them drugs drove you insane. Started with dealing, I grew up with killers, they taught me the game. I got some niggas that die behind, and that shit won't never the same. I know some niggas that lie behind, and that bullet had his name. Ain't no reason to cry about, cause that shit won't never change. MTF the 4th and P, my niggas can't get out the game. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah.
Lost, see, I glossed too, we shit ain't been the same. Heard the ops talking to the
Yo. All right, man, let's get right into it, man.
Whatever it takes. The alleyway.
Coco, this your season right now.
They won't see me. They won't let me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I put attention, all of my blood, all of my veins. They started with Perky, now that hair right up his veins. You started with serving, now them drugs drove you insane. Started with dealing, I grew up with killers, they taught me the game. I got some niggas that die behind, and that shit won't never the same. I know some niggas that lie behind, and that bullet had his name. Ain't no reason to cry about, cause that shit won't never change. MTF the 4th and P, my niggas can't get out the game. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah.
Lost, see, I glossed too, we shit ain't been the same. Heard the ops talking to the feds, giving names. Who gon' feed my family if they take me out the game? Keep one in the head and one eye open, that ain't change. I'm quick to catch a body. When I shoot, he shoot, I know bro shooting right beside me. Them hollow tips go through the wall and then they hit his body.
Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. It's your brother, Big Aboriginal Power, man. I want to say peace and blessings to everybody in the chat, man. Hopefully everybody's having a great grand rising, man. I want to say peace and blessings. This is the Wake and Bake Show, man. So let me know where y'all at this grand rising. What y'all smoking on, if that's your choice, man. Shout out to everybody. Man, you already know what's going on, man. It's the latest YouTube platform live stream in the morning time, man. The grand rising, man. Give y'all something to do while you're on your daily commutes, man. I want to say peace and blessings to everybody that's tuning in and watching this live stream. I'm gonna need everybody to share the live stream, hit the like button. You feel what I'm saying? And support the channel, man. It's very important for you guys to hit that like button and share the channel, man. Y'all see the title? We got a few things we're gonna be discussing this grand rising. So listen, man, before I even get into that, I want to say shout out to everybody tuning in. that's not able to chat, that's just listening and watching this on their daily commute. I also want to take the time out to shout out some of the brothers and sisters that took their time in to actually comment in the chat. So let's get to it. Shout out to Joshua Stewart, Antone Williams, Chief Courtney Michelle, Not a Coincidence, Lady Land Goddess, Cool Face, Pressure One, Leonidas, Boot Camp, the shout out to the other brother in here, shout out to Commander in Chief, and the aggregator or some shit. Aggregator or some shit like that. Shout out to Joshua Stewart in the motherfucking building. Shout out to your Massey Ton in this hoe. Your Massey Ton was good. Everybody in here. I need everybody to hit that like button, man. I wasn't even gonna go live today, no cap, man. I really wasn't. I was like, man, I got some heat, man. We're gonna keep the heat going. My energy feeling right. I know when my energy get down or if I get, you know what I mean, focusing, because I ain't taking no battles right now. So I'm focusing in on the Aborigines right now. I ain't taking no battles right now. So, you know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to Juan Torres, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I know y'all ready to get straight into the meat and potatoes. I don't even want to hold y'all any longer, but I do need y'all to run up them likes real quick, share the live stream, and definitely support the channel, man. I need y'all to support the channel. So yeah, man, let's get right into the conversation at hand, and we'll get back into the Egypt bill from yesterday, man. Let's get right into what we got lined up. Tariq Nasheed destroys white man who claims he's deserved reparations. Let's get.
I need gas money, but I don't get paid till.
Oh shit. Commercial. All right.
Is he bickering about who we gonna fight when we get the money? No. Okay, here we go. We're not gonna do that. All right, now it's about to. We're trying to figure out who ass we're gonna whoop within the family. We're not gonna do that. All right, let's get the money first. Fight later. All right. She's already ahead of the fight. She's already packing, about to move into her new joint when the reparations check comes through. She's already packed. All right. Yeah, just like, they made a good point. It's not that hard. Family, y'all saw how they gave everybody those stimulus checks. Same thing. When they gave people those stimulus checks, it wasn't rocket science. Just send it to the crib. Me and my wife got stimulus checks. You just send it to the head of household. Well, what about my cousin, my uncle? No. Are they the head of the household? See, the thing is, look, this is the thing. What she's really asking is that there's a lot of dusty folks out there who are not head of the household. I kind of get where she's coming from. I get it. We have to understand there's a lot of dusty cousins and uncles and all that live in that big mama house. All right, we got to kind of take that into consideration. Dusty cousins, dusty nephews, who's 48, 53 years old, still living in that big mama house. How are they going to get the money? That's really what the question is. All right. Since they're not the head of household. Well, the thing is, and a lot of those guys, they don't really have any paperwork on themselves. See? A lot of folks who still living at Big Mama's house, they got their names are not on no bills, their names are not on the paperwork, their name is not on the lease. So a lot of these folks aren't even counted in the census. So that's another thing too that's going to be very interesting when we get the reparations, and I say when, because it's going to happen. But when we get the reparations popping, we're going to see the true number of Black people that's in America, and it's not 13%. That's another thing we're going to look out for, because now everybody's going to get their paperwork in order, and they're going to start letting people know who they are. You're going to see a big increase of people who are foundational Black American in this country. I think it might rise up to, possibly 20%. I think it's going to rise up high. So we're going to get all these new people who's newly counted, and we got to figure out, who's going to get their check, which is fine. So maybe they'll get their check and they can get up out of Big Mama's house. All right. That's a part of the reason why we need reparations, because we've been economically deprived. We don't want folks living at Big Mama house forever. Yeah. What's up, Jay Tierra? So they're going to pay in crypto. And that's another thing, too. People, this is another thing I don't like. When we start talking about reparations, notice every time we talk about reparations, it's always we get a plebiscite babble. I'm not talking about her. I'm just talking about in general, because I've seen a lot of conversations online. You get to talking about reparations, and then you get a plebiscite babbler coming in here. Well, if they going to give cash money, I don't know about that, because the cash dollar, it has lost its depreciation, and it's going to be not worth anything within the next 5 years. And according to Black's Law Dictionary, the dollar and fiat money is not based on anything real, so it shall be devalued through the plebiscite. And okay, to get them niggas in. So what we need to do, we need to get the money given to us in cryptocurrency. Let's stop. I don't want to hear plebiscite babble. Y'all didn't give no plebiscite babble when they had the stimulus checks. Give us our paper, man. Yeah, I don't want to hear the refugees from Plebiscite Island. They chime in, because, this is a power move. And there's a lot of Negroes out here who are afraid of power. Yes, I want cash. And let me tell you something. A lot of the Plebiscite Island Negroes, they're not even FBA. Let me tell you something. When you hear Plebiscite Island Negroes talking, 9 times out of 10, they're not even FBA. They're not qualified to even get a check anyway. That's another thing. Whenever you see people kind of talking down on reparations, most of them aren't even FBA. They're not even qualified to get it. They might lie. Oh, yeah, I'm FBA. They be lying their asses off. A lot of these people are not qualified. So they come in our conversations and try to talk us down from pushing for reparations.
Man, we got to get the check, man. They owe us restitution, man. Absolutely. We got to get the check. They owe us our money, man. You heard what Martin Luther King said? After he figured out that he integrated us into a burning building, he said he's on his way to Washington, D.C. to get the check. You understand me? We need the money. They owe us.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got to watch out for the Plebiscite Island refugees. It's a lot of people in here.
Yeah, we got a few people in here already, man. We got 87 people in here. Let's try to get 200 people in here by the hour marker, man. Let's try to get 200 people in here. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It's your brother, Original Power, man. If you're feeling the bill, man, please support the channel. If y'all feeling free, support the channel. Support the channel.
What's up, brown skin daddy? How are you, beloved? I see I am love. I see y'all in here. Forehead braids, everything looking good. Love. How much y'all want? Okay, Mr. Rick Johnson, hop in here. We got a white man.
Grand Riser, Shay Pink 40.
Yeah.
Shout out to my brother
Rick Johnson, hop on, Mr. White Man. Let's get Rick Johnson in here. He said how much we want. I can tell by the hostility of that question, you're a white man. Hop on, man.
Online presence is everything, especially now. And GoDaddy.
Yo, let's get to it. Commercials.
Well, Rick, I just added you. Hop on.
I need y'all to drop them fire emojis in the chat if y'all can hear me loud and clear, man. Drop them fire emojis. We about to get into it. Tariq about to destroy this white boy. Let's get it.
I want you to get on. Go live with Rick. Rick, hop on. I just added you, Rick. I would like for you to get on so you can discuss how you feel about the reparations for foundational Black Americans. All right. And Rick act like he's afraid to get on. Rick, we're nice. All right. Rick is in here trolling. That's what I thought. Rick is not going to get in here, Rick. So since you're trolling, we'll get you up out of here in a second. Yeah, he's just trolling. He's not trying to get on.
Shout out to DJ Cuddy, man. Sent the cash out donation, sent the $2 challenge. He said the $2 challenge starts now. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to DJ Cuddy, man. Make sure y'all support the $2 challenge. Support the channel. Hit that like button. Hey, I appreciate everybody for tapping in, man. Let's get it.
Well, yeah, he's not trying to get on, and I'm going to block him in a second. Yeah. See, none of these people, they don't have a legitimate retort against our reparations. They know that. These people know good and well that we're supposed to get reparations. That's why the only thing they can do is come in our circles and start babbling and trolling. They don't have a legitimate reason to not give us reparations. They don't. They know good and well we're supposed to get reparations. We're the most aggrieved group in this country who is supposed to be compensated. All these other groups are not supposed to get all of these resources. These Ukrainians, they're not supposed to get our tax dollars. But we're the ones who have a serious debt owed, and they know this. We're the one who has a serious debt owed to us. Yeah.
White.
All right. What's up,
bro? Listen.
Oh.
I really listen.
Yeah.
That nigga came on hostile. Damn. Shout out to Craig supporting the $2 challenge as well. Shout out to Craig supporting the $2 challenge, man. Make sure y'all support the channel. Don't let DJ Cuddy and Craig be the only one support Big Aboriginal Power platform, man. Let's continue with Tariq Nasheed destroying this white boy who claims he deserves reparation. Let's go.
Yeah. White. All right. What's up,
bro? Listen.
Oh.
I really listen. I have been following you for a long time. I respect you. I am. You said I'm white. My four fathers. My whole family is. I'm multiracial. I look white because my whole family has been integrated so long for so many generations.
Now, where you from?
That nigga said he's white because his family has integrated for so long. This shit about to get interesting.
I look white because my whole family has been integrated so long for so many generations.
Now, where you from?
I'm 15% black. You can't even look at me and say I'm black because my whole family has been integrated for so many generations.
Where's your family?
I'm 4-5 generation white and black. So that was such an insult for you to say, oh, this is just a white guy that just wants to say something. That is so insultful, bro. Dude, my family has been integrated for so long. I don't look black anymore.
Because you're white.
Why are you gonna push some sort of thing like what you do is you try to push some sort of thing where like we have to insult people and like be segregated and do all this stuff.
Rick,
why are you pushing so much hate, bro?
Rick, you're a white man. What are you talking about?
I'm a white man?
Yes.
I'd be happy to show you my eugenics. I'll be happy.
This nigga said
you're a white man.
He said, Rick, you're a white man. This nigga look like Justin Bieber or somebody off of the High School Musical or some shit. Shout out to Son of California for supporting the $2 challenge as well. We appreciate all the support. Make sure y'all all out there support the $2 challenge. Shout out to Son of California for supporting the $2 challenge, saying keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that, Son of California. We really humbly appreciate all the support, man. For real. Let's continue. Let's listen to white boy Rick claim that he gets reparation. The nigga said, I've been integrated for so long.
What are you talking about?
I'm a white man?
Yes.
He ain't like that.
I'd be happy to show you my eugenics. I'll be happy to show you my.
This nigga said, I'll be happy to show you my eugenics. What? So you just this nigga didn't say I'm gonna show you my lineage, my genealogy. This nigga said I'm gonna show you my eugenics. The fuck?
Rick, you're a white man. What are you talking about?
I'm a white man.
Yes.
I'd be happy to show you my eugenics. I'll be happy to show you my 33andMe. My 33andMe. I'll be happy to show you. I'll be happy to show you, bro. I'll be happy to show you. My family has been so integrated that I am white now because I'm mostly white. Because my dad was a quarter black, his dad was a half black.
Rule 5, a phone plan by
Yo,
Google.
hold on. This nigga said his eugenics though. Did y'all? Are y'all getting that part? Like, the nigga said he gonna show his eugenics, fam. What the fuck? I never heard that.
My family has been so integrated that I am white now because I'm mostly white. Because my dad was a quarter black, his dad was a half black.
Right, ghetto clinic. The eugenics is what killed the blackness in him. That's why he white. That nigga said, I'll be happy to show you my eugenics. Nigga, you ain't got no black. The eugenics you got rid of that motherfucker.
Has been so integrated that I am white now because I'm mostly white. Because my dad was a quarter black, his dad was a half black, and everything I have been integrated now. Now I look more white, and then I get insults from you, from people like you.
How did I insult you?
You said you're not. You're like, oh, it's just the white guy is trolling, brother.
But you just admitted to being
bro. I don't want to hear stuff from you like saying like this is so. White, what you do is you instill hate. Rick. That's what you do, bro.
Rick, the math.
I mean, you can be intellectual. I've listened to your stuff. Your stuff is great. I love it.
Is it?
But at the same time, man, dude, people integrate. People change. There is multi-generational people in this country. I am one of them. I'm happy to show you my genetic history. I am a person that is multi-generational, black and white. My grandma, my fathers, I am multi-generational.
And Rick, this means what? What does that mean?
It doesn't mean anything. I'm not trying to prove a point.
Why are you bringing it up, Rick?
What I wanted to say is that you were saying some insultful things. That Rick, first off, what I want to say Rick, is
you're babbling.
What you do is like you try to divide people. Rick, you try to say like people can't be together. We can't like have a group. We can't be.
Rick, you're projecting, sir. I never said that. Why are you?
What am I projecting?
You're projecting your own anti-black thoughts, Rick. I've never said anything.
Anti-black thoughts?
Yes, Rick. You're projecting.
What are my anti-black thoughts?
That nigga did not like the anti-black thought comment. He said you are projecting your anti-black. Oh, he said anti-black thoughts. That nigga was shocked that.
Why are you?
What am I projecting?
You're projecting your own anti-black thoughts, Rick. I've never said anything.
Anti-black thoughts?
Yes, Rick. You're projecting.
What are my anti-black thoughts?
You're projecting some white supremacist views, Rick. I've never said any of that.
How?
You're just making stuff up and projecting them onto me, Rick. That's something that white supremacists do. It's called I might not say so, Rick. And that's not.
I wish, man.
Rick, you're just like the cops who say, I thought he had a gun. I thought he made a threatening gesture. You're doing I might not say so, Rick. You're using your whiteness against me, sir. This is the problem, Rick.
All right. Well, talk to my dad, who is like the only like quarter black guy in a group of white people in the suburbs. I really wish you. Yeah, he's a quarter black. I'm 1/5 black. We are integrated. We have been.
The nigga said he's 1/5 of black. Of 1/5? What?
I am my father, my parents, my whole family has been here for generation after generation after generation.
Most white people have African ancestry. That doesn't make you black now.
What does it make me then?
A white man.
So I have no black ancestry?
Yes, you do.
I do or do not. What you do is you incite hate.
Am I white, Rick?
Why can't we just all get along? Like, why can't we all just like have some integration where it was like,
I think he said, why can't we all just get along? That nigga hit Tariq with the Martin Luther King. Then he said, why can't we all just get along? This nigga wild.
Dude,
I do or do not. What you do is you incite hate.
Am I white, Rick?
Why can't we just all get along? Like, why can't we all just like have some integration where it was like, whenever you have some insightful.
You know why? Because your community practices white supremacy. Your community.
I'm a mix.
My bad, Kevin Coleman. You right. That nigga got that Rodney King. My bad. That nigga hit him with the Rodney King. Nigga, what? Why can't we all just get along? Look at that.
So what do you say? So what about me?
It seems like the wildfires over summer
these
are getting
commercials, boy. These bitches ain't shit. Man, y'all hit that like button, man. Thumb up the video, support the channel out there, man. We about to turn up, man. White boy Rick said he's black, he want reparations. How do y'all feel about that, man? How y'all feel about the Hoosier wanting the shit?
I'm not a mix. We'll get along. Like, why can't we all just like have some integration where it was like, whenever you have some insightful.
You know why? Because your community practices white supremacy. Your community.
I'm a mix. So what do you say? So
man, y'all want to support the channel, man? Hit that like button. Support the channel. Support the channel.
What about me?
Yes, you're a white.
I'm not a mix.
Yes, you're a white man.
I'm a white man with my Jufro, with my afro, with my hair, my everything. So you are the one that's gonna claim to me my genetics, yeah?
Yes, you're passing for white, sir.
I hope that everyone that's watching this right now this is what you do. You incite hate, you incite division. This is your whole game, bro. This is your whole game, bro. Why can't you just like be a peaceful person? Why can't you just say like, hey, why don't we just get along? Why can't we just do these things that we can just, bro?
The nigga keep hitting him with the Rodney.
My people, my whole game, bro. Why can't you just like be a peaceful person? Why can't you just say like, hey, why don't we just get along? Why can't we just do these things that we can just, bro? My people have been here for the longest time. My family was slaves in Alabama. Okay. I integrated.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were slaves, but they wasn't black, sir. See, that's what your motherfucking ass ain't telling you. Your ass was a white slave in Alabama, boy. Your ass was a redneck working in the fields. That sun beating on your shit. Yeah, you come from a long list of slaves, sir, but they was not black.
With white people, and this is who I am. This is me. My people have been here for the longest time. My family was slaves in Alabama. Okay. I integrated with white people, and this is who I am. This is me. Yeah. So why do you have to say such insightful, really despicable things, bro?
Rick, what type of seasoning do you put on baked chicken?
Oh shit. This is a nigga question. If he really black, he gonna answer this shit. What seasonings y'all putting on the motherfucking fried chicken? Y'all name them seasonings. We using all-purpose seasoning. We using that Aldo, some onion powder, and some salt and pepper, nigga. You already know what's going in that motherfucking flour, nigga. Fuck wrong with him. He ain't gonna know what to answer.
Why do you have to say such insightful, really
Shout out to my nigga Lucky Two Sticks in the building, man. Shout out to everybody in the building. Hit that like button, share the live stream, and support the channel, man. Support the channel, man. Let's finish listening to Tariq destroy this white boy.
Despicable things, bro.
Rick, what type of seasoning do you put on baked chicken?
What?
What type of seasoning do you put on baked chicken?
My white mother from Ireland puts on this terrible seasonings, and then my father, who is a quarter black, puts on good seasonings and then makes good chicken.
Like what?
If that's what you're trying to say.
What's the name of the seasoning? What's the name of the seasoning he puts on?
He uses a bunch of shit because my mom doesn't know how to fucking cook chicken. My dad knows how to cook chicken.
What?
Well, he didn't want to answer that.
What's your point? What's your point?
Name the season.
Multi-season. He uses multi-season. What's your point?
Out of here. You are not no black person at all, and neither is your dad. You are white family.
You can say whatever you want, bro.
All right,
do you want me to say, hey, I challenge you. I challenge you. Can I challenge you? Can I send you my actual genetic information? I'll send it from you for 23andMe. I'll send it from 23andMe. From 23andMe and from Ancestry.com, and I have the genetic information. I'll send it to you. I'll send my white information. I'll send you my family tree. I'll send everything. My whole family has been integrated. Do you want me to send it to you? I challenge you. Post it on your Instagram right now. If you challenge, I will send it to you right now. You post it on your stuff. Really? Stop being so insightful, bro.
That nigga was about to say, man, I put mayonnaise and Cajun season, nigga, what the fuck?
People in this country are integrated. Stop being so insightful.
And people in this country are white, which is you. It's okay.
I'm partly white. Yeah, I am. I'm mostly white. I am the product of multi-generational integration.
Most people.
Does that frustrate you? Does that piss you off?
Most people are.
My grandmom was white and my granddad was black. Does that piss you off?
Get paid up to 2 days early.
These motherfucking commercials shitty than a bitch. That nigga said, did that piss you off that my mom was right? My grandma was right? My granddad was black? This nigga wildin', bro. I swear. Hey, man, drop them fire emojis if y'all can hear everything in the chat loud and clear, man. I want to make sure everything is good for y'all. Drop them fire emojis in the chat, y'all. Let's get it.
Frustration.
Most people.
Does that frustrate you? Does that piss you off?
Most people are.
My grandmom was white and my granddad was black. Does that piss you off? Does that piss you off?
No, you're projecting, sir. You're projecting.
What am I projecting? I'm alive. Because I'm alive, I'm projecting.
You're white, but in certain circles of white supremacist society, they probably
see what you are. You're actually a black supremacist. No, you're the same as a white supremacist.
There's no such thing. You can't have two.
This nigga got to be on meth.
Sir, that's logically.
You're a black supremacist.
You can't be a black supremacist.
No, you're a black supremacist because you won't acknowledge the fact that I'm mixed.
Sir, you're a white man. You're a white male. That's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, tell my Jufro where that came from. Where that come from, huh?
Sir, there's some
that came from a white
coarse hair. There's some white people with coarse hair too. Just because you're not, sometimes the white supremacists might not fully accept you. You're still white, sir. Some of your black genetics might.
Damn, bro.
But you're projecting a lot of your anger towards black society.
I'm projecting my anger black society. Black society gave me my whole life.
I know that, and you seem like you have a lot of.
How am I projecting?
You have a lot of vitriol towards black society.
Sir. What are you talking? I'm part black. My dad is part black.
And you were almost white if it weren't for those black genes. And that's what you're mad at, it seems like, sir.
What does that mean?
Like you were almost white. You were almost there. You could have had all those goodies and privileges, but you got that little coarse fro, that little you almost had it. And damn those Negroes. That's where a lot of the anger is coming from, bro.
Bro, you're sad. You're a black supremacist.
Sir, you're projecting a lot of your.
I'm a mixed guy. I was born by mixed people. I'm a multi-generational mixed person. And what you are is you're the equivalent of a Ku Klux Klan, but you're a black man. You're a black supremacist. That's what you are. You don't like when black people mix. You don't like it when there's a generational after generational mix. I don't know what to do with you, bro.
Does white supremacy in your community exist, sir?
What does that mean?
You said I'm a black supremacist, so does white supremacy?
You're a black supremacist. You hate the fact that I'm integrated. You hate the fact that I'm mixed. You hate the fact.
Prove that I hate it.
You just said.
I didn't say that. Now you're doing I'm white.
You're offended by the fact that I am integrated.
Prove that I'm offended. You just.
Are you drunk? Are you drunk?
You're just saying.
What do you mean prove? What do you mean prove that you're offended? You're offended like on a daily basis. I can't prove that you're offended.
Out of your vitriol. That's all you're doing is projecting.
Vitriol, bro. What vitriol? I'm a happy guy. My dad was a part black. My mom was white. Now, I'm a mix. I'm happy. I had a great family.
Now that you're mixed,
what's the vitriol?
Calm down.
I love. You know what I love? I dated a black girl. I almost married a black girl. I love integration.
Don't say that.
What's the vitriol? What's the vitriol, bro? What's the vitriol?
Don't say that. That don't mean nothing.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
Now, let me ask you
what's the vitriol?
How do you feel about foundational Black Americans getting reparations?
My question is, how are you going to assess who gets reparations?
People who are classified as Black now and whose family were classified as Black on the 1870 census.
What you have to do is you have to track who lived as a slave. So if you want to have reparations, then we need to have a lineage. So you have to be able to have the material say, okay, my family came from a slave. I have papers that said we came from the Alabama slave colonies.
Right.
So I could so you're saying I could claim
This white boy killing them. He said we got slaves records. That white boy got the slave records. Not a coincidence. There you go. White slave right there, buddy.
Slave. I have papers that said we came from the Alabama slave colonies.
Right.
So I could so you're saying I can claim reparations. But my family is doing very well. So why should my family claim reparations?
Stop talking and I'm gonna tell you. Have you classified yourself as Black in the last 10 years on paper?
What does that mean?
You're not.
So are you saying when I apply for a job, do I say am I mixed race? Yes, I am a mixed race. 100%.
Black. No. There's no category as mixed race. Do you classify yourself as Black?
I disagree. When you apply for a job, it asks you, are you one or two or a racist? Yes, I am. I am two different races.
You have to classify yourself as Black for the last 10 years. See, family, I want y'all to learn from this. If you have not classified yourself as Black, you will not be qualified for reparations.
This is just blindly ignorant.
How?
You have to track, because if there's many Black people that survived and then went to the North and they became free peoples. And there was also, what I wanted to elaborate to you, Tariq, do you know how many, can I also say to you, Tariq, do you know how many Black slave owners there were?
He claims white.
Hey,
go ahead.
Can I also elaborate to you?
Go ahead, Rick.
Do you know how many Black slave owners there were?
This is babbling. No. Let me tell you about it.
Answer the question. Do you know how many black slave owners in the South there were?
How many? Sophie, if you can make tacos, you can make a website with
in the South. Elaborate to you.
Go ahead, Rick.
Do you know how many black slave owners there were?
This is babbling. No. Let me tell you about it.
Answer the question. Do you know how many black slave owners in the South there were?
How many?
There were hundreds.
That's a lie.
Hundreds.
That's a lie.
Oh shit. White boy just opened up Pandora's box. So he said he was enslaved by black people pretty much. That's what he pretty much saying. Listen to him.
Do you know how many black slave owners there were?
He claims white.
Hey.
But go ahead.
Can I also elaborate to you?
Go ahead, Rick.
Do you know how many black slave owners there were?
This is babbling. No. Let me tell you about it.
Answer the question. Do you know how many black slave owners in the South there were?
How many?
There were hundreds.
That's a lie.
Hundreds.
That's a lie.
Oh, okay, we'll go ahead and look it up.
Lie.
There were multiple black slave owners. They were black. They achieved their freedom and they became rich and they had their own slaves. There was black slave owners and there was Indian slave owners.
They got their family members. They would purchase their family members. Stop lying.
You're lying. You're lying. Look it up on Wikipedia.
So I know already. So now you're lying. These were
so wait, let me ask you. Their family
members. So they own them.
Can I ask you?
But they were family members. So don't.
Can I ask you a question?
Wait.
Can I ask you a question?
That boy telling the truth right now. He telling the truth. Now we gotta go back to that. Let's listen one more time.
Achieved their freedom and they became rich and.
Oh, let's run that back.
You know how many black slave owners there were?
He claims white.
Hey.
But go ahead.
Can I also elaborate to you?
Go ahead, Rick.
Do you know how many black slave owners there were?
This is babbling. No. Let me tell you about it.
Answer the question. Do you know how many black slave owners in the South there were?
How many?
There were hundreds.
That's a lie.
Hundreds.
That's a lie.
Oh, okay, we'll go ahead and look it up. There were multiple black slave owners. They were black. They achieved their freedom and they became rich and they had their own slaves. There was black slave owners and there was Indian slave owners.
They got their family members. They would purchase their family members. Stop lying.
You're lying. You're lying. Look it up on Wikipedia.
So I know already. So now you're lying.
So wait, let me ask you.
Their family members. So they own them.
Can I ask you?
But they were family members. So don't.
Can I ask you a question?
Wait.
Can I ask you a question?
After you be quiet and let me clear your lie up. The black people.
Can I ask you one question? I'll shut up.
Okay, no, you're going to shut up now. The black people purchased their family members. They were not slave owners like that. They purchased their family members. So what does that have to do with you classifying yourself as white now?
I'm saying you want reparations, but what I'm saying is there was black slave owners. They were black. They were empowered.
No, they weren't.
Because they were rich. They were smart. They were successful. Black people.
You're making
in the
Tariq sound crazy as hell. He said, no, that wasn't. Yeah, they was, boy. You gotta do your research. You're trying to prove a point. You gotta be right on. You gotta be real when it's real.
Black. They were empowered.
No, they weren't.
Because they were rich. They were smart. They were successful. Black people.
You're making
in the 1700s. They were. Yeah.
No, there were.
Hey man, make sure y'all support the channel, man. Support the channel. If you ain't following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. It's at the bottom right of the screen. Big_Aboriginal_power. Share the live stream and tag me in it on the Instagram. Tag me on the Twitter at Power Aboriginal. That's on Twitter. That's Power Aboriginal on Twitter, man. Make sure y'all go tag me, follow me. Hey man, support the channel. That's at the bottom right of the screen as well, man. Make sure y'all share the live stream, run up them likes, and drop them fire emojis in the chat if y'all can hear everything loud and clear. Let's get it.
They were smart. They were successful. Black people.
you're making
in the 1700s. They were. Yeah.
No, there were very few, but go ahead.
Actually, there was a couple, there was a couple dozen of them.
What's the point, Rick?
The point is what you want is reparations, right? So the whole thing is like, how do we track down who deserves the reparations?
Foundational Black Americans do.
No, it's who was actual slave peoples. They deserve the reparation. Huh?
Foundational Black Americans.
Yeah. Foundational Black Americans deserve reparations. So they deserve it. Yeah. So how do we track it down? We have to have a way.
We do have a way.
We can't just give it to everyone. We can't just give it to everyone.
We're not. We'll have a way. The black people.
The only way you can do it is with papers to show that I was a slave, my family was a slave. Therefore, we should have some sort of reparations that way. If you want to do it that way,
we have that.
Not many people have that capacity because they don't have that, because slaves never had there's no paperwork for slaves.
Yes,
there's no paperwork for slaves.
Most black people can trace their lineage back to the 1870 census. If your lineage is there, you were most likely a slave and you're qualified for reparations, and you have
every black person can track their slave history back to that. Everyone. That's all that means is every black person can.
It's 11:11 on the East Coast, man. Make sure y'all put y'all thoughts and whatever y'all want done for this day, this month, this week. Put in the atmosphere, man. Call it on the ethers, man. It's 11:11. Call in the ethers, man. Y'all know what's up. Let's continue the live stream. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. Let me shout out a few people that did support the channel. Shout out to Miss Wright for the Cash App donation. You know what I'm saying? Say, keep revealing this truth. I appreciate that. Shout out to Miss Wright for supporting the channel. Shout out to Enoch. He said, thanks for the morning laugh. It's good for the soul. Definitely, bro. You gotta laugh sometimes. You feel me? And put this humor in with the information and all that shit. Because, you know, we don't want a dry ass motherfucking build. You feel what I'm saying? So shout out to everybody in the chat for tapping in. Make sure y'all share the live stream. Support the channel, man. Tap in and support the channel, man. Let's get it, man. Shout out to Drake Kyle. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Drake Kyle's music as well. He said supporting the $2 challenge. We appreciate him for supporting the $2 challenge, man. It's still in effect. Support the channel, man. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Hey, drop them fire emojis in the chat, man. Flood the chat out with some fire emojis, man. If y'all feeling the bill, if y'all fucking with Big Aboriginal Power, let's get it, man. Let's go. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Let's go.
Every black person can track their slave history back to that. Everyone. That's all that means is every black person can track their history back to that.
Right.
What I'm saying is like we need to have paperwork.
Every black person who's the foundational Black American can trace their lineage back to 1870 census. My thing is about to stop in 30 seconds. I'm going to restart though. But yes, and you have to be classified as black now.
You gotta be classified as black now. So we're gonna pretty much end that part right there. How y'all feel about the white boy arguing that he deserves reparation for slavery and that his people was enslaved in the Alabama goddamn slave plantations by black people? How y'all feel about that? How y'all feel about that, man? That's just a question for y'all. How y'all feel about that? You know? Yeah, man, he was dropping them jewels, man. Let's get to the second half of the video, man. You see it. Y'all see the topic, man. Y'all see the topic. Egypt and America. We're going to get to that right now. Let's get to it.
Walnut Rapids is 2,760 feet above sea level. The distance between the two is 3,290 feet. If you add together his two numbers, you get 3,480
Let me run that back a little bit for y'all so y'all know what's going on.
Hotel would have been on the south rim of the canyon. Here you all see Crystal Creek. And so people who have looked at this carefully
now,
today,
what this bill is picking up off of is Egypt and America. They was discussing the archaeological evidence and other evidence of Egypt, artifacts found in the Grand Canyon. So he's elaborating on that, talking about Crystal Lake, talking about the guys who was with the Smithsonian who's actually marked to actually deal with that particular site. So we're gonna get into that.
From this vantage point of the hotel, you can actually see into Crystal Creek. So they think that if this account is real, this is the ballpark area where this special cave was actually located. So he claimed it was 42 miles upriver from El Tabor Crystal Canyon. And so today, there's 98 miles to this Grand Canyon. You subtract 42, they would put this at mile 56. So some people are pretty sure it's within this 1 mile. Now, a lot of people have considered this to be a hoax account. Here, to me, is one of the most fascinating aspects that I think means the account is probably rooted in truth. So he describes in the account, he says the entrance is 1,486 feet down the sheer canyon wall, like a very specific number. But then Kincaid also adds that he saw on the east wall stains that were 2,000 feet above the riverbed. Okay, so those are our two numbers. 2,000 feet above the riverbed, 1,486 feet down from the top of the canyon wall. Now, here's the fascinating part. And I drew like a little mini map. If you actually look at the real elevations of the Grand Canyon, the rim top in that part of the canyon is 6,050 feet above sea level. The water level of the Colorado, which is called the Quagnut Rapids, is 2,760 feet above sea level. The distance between the two is 3,290 feet. If you add together his two numbers, you get 3,486 feet. So this man, based on this account, was basically only a little over 100 feet off from the actual real amount. So that's led some people to believe that this was a genuine account. It was an accurate measurement. So anybody have anything to add before I get into some of the conspiracies that people have tossed out here? All right. So there's a lot of them. One comes from a modern author named John Rhodes. And this is going to sound very similar to Native American counts of the Archuleta Mesa and the supposed Dulce base. There have been a number of Native American guides over the years who claim to know exactly where the entrance is, but they refuse to show anybody. So John Rhodes says he knows where the actual entrance is, but it is always guarded by a soldier with an M16 rifle, like a U.S. Army soldier. So he won't go there. Then we have very popular author David Icke, and very controversial. And he, in his book, The Biggest Secret from 1999, has connected this cave to reptilian overlords, which also ties into a lot of the Native American mythology. And he's a very polarizing figure because some people who are even believers in these caves then get frustrated with an allegation like that from it because they think he's taking a story that has some archaeological validity and makes it then sound totally outlandish if you don't believe in the lizard people.
As a aside, have you ever tried to read anything by David Icke?
You know, funny thing, as popular as he is, I don't think I actually have one of his books.
I tried to read one of his books, and like, I mean, the best way to describe it is like in the book, there would be times where he'd be like, and people think I'm crazy, but this is why I'm not crazy. Like he wrote that in the book.
Right.
Like that to me is a sign that you're crazy. Right. Like yeah.
That sounds similar to David Wilcox's
Like you just lay out your case and you don't have to like it is they are the hardest. Like I got like 30 pages into it, never read it.
You can tell with some of those authors, they are so used to being attacked that even when they're writing from a defensive position. But it makes it tough to read, and as you said, it makes it seem less credible. So here are some of the other theories, and I've already touched on these, and these are fairly reasonable if you want to take a skeptical approach. Conspiracy 3, I simply call the mineral. So Kincaid was not there for altruistic purposes. He was basically just looking for gold. Interestingly, in 1908, Teddy Roosevelt makes it illegal to mine gold in the Grand Canyon by declaring the area around it a national forest. So some people think this was intentionally done to actually stop the gold mining. Theory 4, Kincaid and Jordan were real, but as we mentioned, the Smithsonian deleted their identities. Very similar to Bob Lazar. It turned out, they got caught basically deleting his college records, deleting the fact he worked at Los Alamos, S4, etc. So this does happen. Or theory 5, the Arizona Gazette simply fabricated the story to increase newspaper sales. So those are the basic conspiracies. Are you guys leaning any one way or the other before I add a new layer of evidence that might make it look more credible?
I think it's very interesting. My thing is there any sort of like reasoning or explanation as to how or why they got there?
There is, but for that, we will turn to a second location in Illinois, and I'll do that right at the end. That's a great question.
And let's be honest, like the newspaper made it up. Very well could be the case, but that's no fun.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like I don't want, like, I mean, case solved, we're done. Like, I mean, that doesn't make it interesting. I kind of lean towards the mineral idea, but and we talk about it all the time, the sci-fi horror reader in me fan is it wasn't gold, it was something else. Like going back to David Icke and the reptilian overlords, they found this cave that leads to like an alien base or whatever. I'm just saying, like, I kind of lead, like, my mind wants to go there.
Well, I mean, if the Kincaid was looking for gold and he found gold, why would he come up with this story of finding Egyptian artifacts? It almost is like, I would think if you're looking for gold and you find gold, you either want people to know so that you can then get a mine, like an operation in there to.
So they're talking about the motherfuckers who went to the Grand Canyon and supposedly found Egyptian artifacts, went back out there with the Smithsonian guys. They found a whole bunch of other shit that they didn't even know was there. The Smithsonian documented it, displayed it for some time, and then it all of a sudden disappeared.
And we have the Horus Temple. And so I can.
So let's get back to it. Let's get it.
We talk about it all the time. The sci-fi horror reader in me fan base
story of finding Egyptian artifacts. It almost is like, I would think if you're looking for gold and you find gold, you either want gold. Why would he come up with this story of finding Egyptian artifacts? It almost is like, I would think if you're looking for gold and you find gold, you either want people to know so that you can then get a mine, like an operation in there to dig it out, or you want to tell a story where there was nothing there, I didn't see anything, and that way you can come back later. You know what I mean? Like, why come up with this weird story of these artifacts that you're finding?
That's excellent. So for our listeners at home, if you're still somewhat skeptical, let me add a new layer to it that might make you think just a little bit. So I'm going to return to this map, and you guys might not have noticed it, but check out some of the names of the rock formations that are very, very close to Crystal Creek. I've written a number of them down, and you'll notice that most of them have quite an Egyptian flair. So we have all of the following in the relative vicinity of Crystal Creek in the Grand Canyon. We have the Shiva Temple, Osiris Temple, Isis Temple, the Diana Temple is across the canyon, we have the Tower of Ra, and we have the Horus Temple. And so I can show you just some of these. So for starters, here you can see a visual showing just how steep the cliff walls are here. So you can not only see how inaccessible this cave was, but it also blows my mind that they were able to access it back at this time. But here are some of the visuals. This is the Isis temple, and you see this rock outcrop left on top. That is named the Cheops Pyramid. Just
So they're talking about different rock formations next in the Grand Canyon.
Inspired them to think of sacred mountains and temples of mythology. So that's the official explanation. But others believe that many of them are named Egyptian because this was the secret way, secrets in plain sight, of basically signaling to those in the know, hey, there's something that's actually special here.
What was the guy's name again?
Clarence Dutton.
Clarence Dutton.
Yes.
You don't know when he was exploring like that area name and stuff.
I do. I did not write that one down. I believe it was. Oh, that's a really good question. Could you look it up? Because I would like to know whether it was before or after.
What was the name again?
Clarence Dutton. Before or after Kincaid's expedition in 1909. Now, here comes the creepy part. One of you gave me a great segue for this earlier. Adding to the intrigue, where the Little Colorado meets a confluence with the Colorado, we have what is called the Grand Canyon Forbidden Zone. And this is real. And in 1956, 2 jetliners actually collided at this junction, killing all 128 people on board.
Wow.
Today, it is a forbidden zone for hikers. The Native American legend is that there is a high energy source from the confluence of the canyon itself. One of the legends is actually they were 2 separate canyons that were then joined together later on in geological history. So today, this is restricted airspace over the area. Jay, you talked about crossing the river. I know other places in the Grand Canyon, people raft it, but this ground is illegal to navigate. Many have been arrested, and some have actually died trying to climb down these rock cliffs to try to access this actual site. So I do have some other pictures.
Hit that like button.
Yes,
Just
please.
before you go to the other pictures. So
hit that like button, man. Support the channel, man. Support the channel.
The Native American legend is there's some kind of energy source.
Yes.
And at the location of this energy source, 2 planes are basically knocked out of the sky.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Brock, did you find anything on that?
I am looking right now.
All right. So while Brock is looking, let me just throw out some of my sources. Some were pretty good. Some were not so great. I did listen to one other podcast about this, and it is a much more well-established podcast than our own, sadly. These guys are pretty well known. It's a podcast called Stuff They Don't Want You to Know. And not to start a podcast war to talk smack. Their production value is very high. But I think, Jay, we talked about this. It was tough to get through the episode because there's 3 of them just like us. But these guys are trying so hard to be witty in just every single line that it just wears you down after a while. But I got some good information there. I got some from the Bibliotheca Pleiades article. It's called The Location of Kincaid's Cave Revealed. This was by Jack Andrews. It was also very good. And then the final location that we're going to talk about, I got some information and some pictures from a really nice blog called Daily Odds and Ends. But before we jump to Illinois, there is one other account of an explorer through this area that I personally think adds a lot of validity to the account. So let's rewind a couple decades earlier. This is the well-known explorer, John Wesley Powell, and he traveled with a Native American guide named Jacob Vernon Hamlin. They actually rafted the canyon with 9 men. And neat backstory on Powell, he was actually a Civil War hero survived the war after losing part of his arm, and becomes a college teacher, but got bored. And so he wanted to complete the first scientific study of the Grand Canyon.
Oh, wow.
And so I've got some visuals on that. This is actually a photograph of Powell's earlier expedition in Marble Canyon in 1869.
It says that he was actually, John Wesley Powell was actually pals with Dutton.
Really?
Yeah, him and Dutton explored.
Hey, thanks, Brock. So I'm guessing Dutton's naming was probably prior to the.
Yeah, I'm going to say it was 18. It looks like it was. So it's hard because he did like a lot of different. So he was a field geologist from 1875 to 1877. He retired from the USGS in 1891.
So I guess from a conspiracy angle, it might hurt the conspiracy if the Egyptians' names were there prior to the cave.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Thanks, Brock. So from the picture, you can see the wood-sided boats, which were highly dangerous to use compared to rafts that are used today. You can also see just how sheer the cliff walls actually are. And so then here, I've got a picture of Powell with his Native American guide, Hamblin. And then this is actually the cave that he discovered first, which is called Powell's Cave. So here is a direct quote from Powell.
It's a very interesting looking cave. It's almost like a tunnel.
Yeah.
You know,
it is that. So as I read this quote, just kind of ask yourself, do you think this helps or hurts the story of Kincaid? So here's a quote from Powell from a couple decades earlier. In this canyon, great numbers of man-made caves are hollowed out. I first walked down a gorge to the left of a cliff and climbed to a bench of the cliff. There was a trail on the cliff bench that was deeply worn into the rock formation. Where the trail crossed some gulches, some steps had been cut. This sounds very similar to the original account. I could see no evidence that the trail had been traveled in a long time. I returned to our camp about 3 p.m., and the men had found more Egyptian hieroglyphics on cliff walls near the cave. We explored the cave and found this shrine and other artifacts. That evening, I sent a team member to notify the Smithsonian Institute of our discovery. We continued to survey the cavern and discovered more Egyptian tunnel cities. I estimate in my report that I think upwards of 50,000 Egyptians had inhabited the Grand Canyon at one time. So that's actually an earlier quote, and it certainly sounds similar to what Dixon was actually, or I'm sorry, what Kincaid was actually describing in the actual canyon.
And that came from Powell?
Yes.
Okay.
That came from Powell.
I think that's interesting because part of me wants to say, I wonder if he's using Egyptian hieroglyphics as, because the guy's a geologist, he's not a historian or anything like that that I know of. Like, I would think, are you using Egyptian hieroglyphics for just a catch-all for hieroglyphics or just some type of carvings or writings? I mean, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but
I don't think it's too much of a stretch. I mean, I would say I don't think he would be an expert in Native American petroglyphs.
Yeah.
But I will say, from seeing some of those in person, I think Egyptian hieroglyphs have a distinctly different look to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good question. Hey friends, it's Jim from Majestic Arizona. Need a vacation?
All right, man, let's get this shit up.
In the United States. And we're going to go the whole way up to 1982 with the controversial discovery of the Burroughs Cave in Illinois. Have you guys heard of this one?
I have heard of this
not.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I thought you may have heard of this one, Brock. This seems like it would be up your alley. So, a man named Burroughs allegedly discovered a cave while hiking miles from the Little Wabash River, which was not far from his home. Skeptics immediately pounced and said there are very few caves in this part of Illinois. And he claimed to find a 500-foot passageway lined with extinguished oil lamps with soot still on the ceiling. Inside, he found inscribed stones with profiles of people who looked very different than what we would have in the United States. We had profiles of African people, Egyptians, Europeans, and Native Americans, and a mishmash of writing styles all in the same cave. Wow. Now, some skeptics have claimed that proves this has to be a fake, because there's no other place that you would find all these cultures mixed together. But other people have said, well, what if you had a city like London that was suddenly preserved and fossilized today? You would have a total melting pot of so many different cultures of people all actually together. And so what's intriguing to me, and this just goes to show, sometimes it's good to actually read a good book rather than just try to look for things online. Because if you actually Google Burroughs Cave, right away you'll get hit with brief, dismissive articles from Wikipedia saying the whole thing is a hoax. Well, for that, I am going to turn to one of the best books I have ever read on archaeology. This is The Lost Civilization Enigma from Philip Coppens. Those of you listening at home, if the name sounds familiar, he was the man with a little bit of an accent and the wavy, long black hair that always appeared on Ancient Aliens. And sadly, I have to say, was the man, because Coppens a few years ago succumbed to a very fast-acting form of cancer. And some people even believe that Coppens was so close to the truth on a number of these things that the powers that be basically took him out of the picture early. So if you guys don't mind, let me just share maybe one paragraph.
There was that Chief Cornstalk. You know what I mean? Chief Cornstalk in the building. The spirit of Chief Cornstalk is in all you guys.
Of Coppens's excellent assessment of the Burroughs Cave. The Burroughs Cave, as it is now known, is famous for its large number.
Hey man, if y'all want me to continue, which I will continue, I'm gonna need y'all to thumb up the video, man. We gotta get 150 likes in the building. Let's get 150 to 60 likes in the building. Support the channel, y'all. Let's run up these likes. And make sure you support the channel, y'all. Cash App tabs at the bottom right of the screen. I appreciate all the American Aborigines tapping in, man. We're gonna continue this conversation about is Egypt and America, dealing with some of the artifacts. This is just a part 1 series of this. We'll get into it later. Part 3, part 4, part 5. But yeah, this is going to be one of them ones. So hit the like button, man. Support the channel. Let's get it.
Inscribed stones, graph of Coppens's excellent assessment of the Burroughs Cave. The Burroughs Cave, as it is now known, is famous for its large numbers of inscribed stones, often containing profiles of people who look African, Egyptian, and European, as well as Native American. On first sight, they look crude, the work of an amateur or someone meeting an imminent deadline. Furthermore, preliminary analyses of the writing on the stones revealed a mix, if not a mismatch, of various styles, words, and languages that archaeologists and linguists quickly labeled as obviously fake. Now, I love this next line of Coppens because I hate when scientists do this. He says, obvious being a preferred word that scientists use to underline what they can easily, obviously, see as fake, though amateurs are fooled by it, obviously. Because if you notice, anytime you see a scientific argument, the established authorities always feather in words like that to make it seem more clear-cut than it actually is. As early as 1983, Burroughs placed a very small collection of the...
Y'all fooling around, man. Y'all ain't even hit the like button, man. We ain't got 160 likes yet, man. So listen, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to take a quick 60-second break. I'm going to allow y'all enough time to share the live stream, hit the like button, you feel me? So we can get right back into this fire build, man. It's a lot more left to get into the conversation. But we'll be back in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Hell no, I don't know why the fuck that shit keep going on. That's crazy. I'm like, damn, that bitch on the loop. I think I might have accidentally hit the loop. Goddamn, that bitch kept going. Ain't I said, goddamn, 30 seconds. Goddamn. Hey, but listen, man, make sure you hit that like button, man. Support the channel, thumb up the video, man. Shout out to King E. Yeah, man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Man, support the channel, man. We're gonna get right back into the conversation, man. Let's get it. Shout out to everybody in here.
Artifacts on sale in a local antique shop. But if he created the entire collection, he created so many that he never could have gotten rid of them all. Moreover, it was not until 1997 that he or anyone else would cash in on the stones themselves. If Burroughs wanted to get rich from creating fake artifacts, his hoax was obviously ill executed. So, Brock, it's kind of like you talked about tonight. Like, if you're actually going to be hoaxing these things, this is a really long-term payoff here. So there's a lot of controversy with Burroughs because allegedly he would only show his close friends where the cave was. Once this reached the papers, he was hounded every day by amateur geologists that wanted to know. He wouldn't show it. So his critics said that's because the whole thing was a hoax. But believers in it said he didn't want to do it because it immediately would have compromised the integrity of the site and made it prone to actual looting. Now, some researchers believe that Burroughs did find large amounts of gold. There's a Swiss researcher named Luke Bergen that claimed that Burroughs melted down upwards of $15 million worth of gold. And so Coppins asked, if there was really all this gold there, why would he go to the trouble of actually constructing a hoax just to try to make money?
Yeah, and why is he trying to hawk the
tablets?
And like, is there any evidence of this guy being a millionaire?
Right. Oh, that's a really good.
Yeah, it's not like it. I mean, it's like 35 years ago. Like, you should know that this guy.
had
that kind of money.
Exactly. So Burroughs allegedly found 12.
Let's see the tax return.
12 crypts with different skeletons throughout them, but in the very center there was a gold sarcophagus that resembled one that you would find in Egypt. The mummy itself and the sarcophagus had crossed arms and hands holding an ankh. Now at this point I'm going to show my last visuals. If you actually Google the Burroughs Cave, you can find a number of petroglyphs, what appear to be hieroglyphs, what appear to be Egyptian hieroglyphs. But one of the problems that I've found with this, and maybe you guys have when you research ancient history, is a lot of these are taking you to people's own personal blogs and websites. And so they might just Google search a picture of a hieroglyph and insert it into their story about the Burroughs Cave. So then it comes up. And so it seems like the actual images of what was found in the cave are somewhat debated. Now, to bring this story to a close, by 1989, Burroughs is disillusioned by the fight not only from mainstream archaeology, but from being incessantly hounded by amateur archaeologists and people accusing him of faking the whole thing.
Now, one quick question, because with the mainstream archaeology, did he ever let anyone go check this place out?
He did, and there interestingly are photographs of the original artifacts taken out of the cave. Mainstream archaeology believes that he has made these photos, but
he did let someone look at it.
And he actually,
unlike the one in the Grand Canyon where no one's allowed to go.
Yes, and one of the critiques of the Grand Canyon find was that G.E. Kincaid was allegedly a well-known photographer. And so by that point, we had black and white photography. So why didn't you take some pictures of it? So Burroughs, disillusioned, dynamites the entrance to the cave so no one can get in anymore. 3 years later, he writes a book called The Mystery Cave of Many Faces. Now, Jay, you mentioned reputable geologists. By 1993, Wayne May of the Ancient American magazine actually confirms that the cave is there with ground penetrating radar. Burroughs reverses face and says, "Here, I'll take you to it." The problem is, every time May tried to get into the cave, he encountered groundwater. This almost now sounds like Oak Island.
Yeah.
So Coppens's belief is when Burroughs actually dynamited the cave, it opened up an underground aquifer, which basically flooded the cave. So I believe long ago, Brock, earlier in this episode, you asked, well, what are the theories about why these things are actually there? There is one good theory that actually does check a number of boxes, and it even covers something from the story about the gold coffin that I found a little bit skeptical. So here is an actual take. This comes from Coppens. He believes there's a chance these were pre-Columbian explorers from Old World Europe. Many of the artifacts were photographed, and some displayed a signature of Alexander Helios, who happened to be the son of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. So one conclusion was that this was the remains of a Libyan-Iberian expedition, because at the time, Europe is under the control of the Roman Empire, and King Ptolemaeus I is ruling Mark.
Hit that like button, support the channel, man. We're going to keep this thing going.
Why these things are actually there. There is one good theory that actually does check a number of boxes, and it even covers something from the story about the gold coffin that I found a little bit skeptical. So here is an actual take. This comes from Coppens. He believes there's a chance these were pre-Columbian explorers from Old World Europe. Many of the artifacts were photographed, and some displayed a signature of Alexander Helios, who happened to be the son of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Signature of Alexander. So one conclusion was that this was the remains of a Libyan-Iberian expedition, because at the time, Europe is under the control of the Roman Empire, and King Ptolemaeus I is ruling Mauritania on the northern coast of Africa. He is the son of King Juba II. And Mauritania was very prosperous, so much so that the Roman army actually relayed siege to it to take control of it back. So some believe that the royalty from there actually fled and used old Phoenician maps of where the Azores were to actually get close to North America. Now, here's where the gold coffin comes in, because to me, one of the skeptical ideas was, I would like to believe that, but if it was just some rogue expedition, why would they ever go to the trouble to lug a heavy gold sarcophagus around? And where would you ever find enough gold on your own to actually make one?
And also, if you made it to the United States, or, if you made it to America, between, let's say they land in North Carolina, there's a hell of a lot of room from North Carolina to Chicago,
right?
That you could have planted this thing without carrying it all the way.
Right.
Even if you're going up the Mississippi or something, like there's Chicago's halfway through. You know what I mean?
Right.
Illinois is halfway.
And that's
through.
what Coppens alleged, is they basically landed somewhere in Central America, found the Mississippi, and worked their way up. So here's just the last thing to make you think. What is known is that Juba II did have a golden sarcophagus ordered in Mauritania, but the invading Roman armies never actually found it. So some people believe that it actually wound up the whole way over in Illinois. So we've kind of started with the Hopi. We went deep down into the Grand Canyon. We jumped from some caves across to Illinois. But I think those are fascinating stories.
I think it's very interesting.
And I don't think it's that much of a stretch to believe that there were many old world people that were thoroughly knowledgeable about America well before Christopher Columbus got here.
Yeah. Something that's interesting with this. Have you ever read American Gods?
I have.
So,
It's been a while. It's been a long time since.
So Neil Gaiman, right?
Yeah, Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman has a book, American Gods, and the whole concept of the book is that gods are real. Like all gods ever worshipped are real. And now there's these new gods as well that are taking over. And so
Have you ever heard of that book, American Gods? I might have to look that up, man. I don't think I've ever read that book, American Gods. I'm gonna have to shout that out, man. Check that shit out. Shout out to everybody in the motherfucking chat, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. The $2 effect, the $2 challenge is still in effect. Make sure y'all support the channel. Don't, you know what I mean? Support the channel, man. We gotta support the real Aboriginal, support Aboriginals, like black-owned businesses and shit, man. You understand me? Support the channel, share the live stream, hit the like button. If you ain't following me on Instagram, make sure y'all go follow me on Instagram at big_Aboriginal_power, man. That's on Instagram. Make sure y'all follow me, man. We tapped in, man. Support the channel, man. We better get back to it, man. Let's go.
About America well before Christopher Columbus got here.
Yeah. Something that's interesting with this. Have you ever read American Gods?
I have.
So,
It's been a while. It's been a long time since.
So, Neil Gaiman. Right?
Shout out to Eric Gressel. What's up with it, big bro?
God.
Shout out to Erica Gressel in the building. Appreciate you, Erica, for tapping in. Make sure y'all support the channel, y'all.
And the whole concept of the book is that gods are real. Like all gods ever worshipped are real. And now there's these new gods as well that are taking over. And so, like technology, the highway is another one of the gods that are taking over. And so you have gods like Thor and Odin who have been worshipped that are trying to hold on more or less to their, that's kind of a real general gist of the story. But anyways, at one point, the main character, it's basically a story traveling across the United States, and they go to a place in Illinois, and there is Mr. Ibis, and I can't remember the other one's name. But basically, the reason they're there is because these people who supposedly brought the coffin and everything up, established the religion there, and that's why they're now in this area.
Wow, that's really interesting.
So I thought that was interesting. I mean, the book's fantastic. If you get a chance to read, I've watched a few episodes of the show. I don't know, but the book is fantastic. It's one of my favorites.
Looking at the stories, I can't get past. I mean, this isn't blowing this story out. I just my mind just keeps going back to the power source.
Yeah.
I mean, well, but so bear with me. There's stories of the Atlantean culture that had advanced technology, even in fiction, and but they talk about perhaps the Egyptians had more advanced technology than we realized. Right. And then people say, well, it's because it wasn't really the Egyptians, it was aliens, whatever. But it just makes you wonder, what they're finding. Yes, it's proof that these cultures came, but are they actually finding something else? Because again, I'm thinking about what's his name, John? When you mentioned it earlier, John Ford, or the gentleman that knows how to get there, but he doesn't go there.
Oh, John Rhodes. John Rhodes.
Yeah. And he says it's being guarded by.
Right.
Yeah, and
shout out to Sun Baby in the chat, man. Appreciate you for tapping in, God.
I understand we don't want people to come in and see, but then they could also just clear that thing out, take all the crap out of it.
Right.
So it makes you wonder, is there more than just the evidence that these people came here? Did they bring some kind of technology with them that we don't understand now? And now we're keeping a guard on it. Yeah. And again, that was such a small part of the story, but for some reason my mind just fixated on I think it's so amazing that there's legends of this power source,
right?
And 2 planes, and now there's a forbidden zone in that area.
It's interesting because when stories hit a number of historical tropes, does that make it more or less credible in your mind? Because when you hear,
if y'all want the book American Gods, the brother Sun Baby just put that in the chat. Shout out to the brother Sun Baby for dropping the American Gods PDF. So make sure y'all go click that link that's in the chat. download it so y'all can have the book, man. So y'all can have that. We want y'all to have all of the literature that deals with this topic and any topic at hand. Shout out to the brother Son Baby for that.
About the power source, you automatically think about the supposed sunken remains of Atlantis in the Bermuda Triangle. You think about the no-fly zone in Antarctica above the lake that's constantly warm. And so on one hand, you can make the argument that there is a credible consistency to this happening in certain locations on Earth. Or I could also see somebody taking the skeptical side and saying, well, all of these new legends are basically just mishmash pieces of older ones. You know?
My thing with this, and the thing that kind of, and this is for the one in Illinois, I would like to see an actual example of the artifact. You know what I mean? Like, and know that this is something that the guy said that he got from the cave. And I would like to know why like, instead of just saying, you know, oh, it's obviously fake, I would like to know why they're saying it's fake. Like, is everything misspelled on it? Is everything, you know, because then at that point I would say the guy's faked it because he's probably looked at a hieroglyphic on, you know, Google, and then he's trying to figure it out. Like, I'd like to know why these are considered fakes,
right?
And why instead of and
shout out to Gretchen Helm in the chat. Appreciate y'all for coming in. Shout out to Jan Ronner in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's tapping in, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Drop them fire emojis in the chat if y'all can hear me loud and clear. You feel what I'm saying? Make sure y'all support the channel. It's very, very important for you guys to hit that like button, share the live stream, and support the channel, man. Let's keep this thing going, man. The voice of the Aborigines, man. We here, man. I've been coming, what is this, like 10 days in a row, 11 days in a row, number heat? Let's go.
I would hope that there's some evidence somewhere saying that this is fake, because blah, blah, they're using this language, and this language wasn't developed until whatever time or whatever.
The one specific example I can give that I think speaks exactly what you're saying is supposedly in a picture of one of the hieroglyphs. It basically looks like two combined pieces of like an ancient Egyptian or Phoenician boat. And both of them make sense on separate boats, but would never be seen together.
Okay.
It's essentially like two front ends of a ship. Like if somebody didn't really know what cars were, so they drew a picture that had two front ends.
Right.
But then I've also seen there were so many tablets recovered and photographed that people basically said this man would literally have to spend thousands of hours of his life carving these things from scratch. Like, what would he have to gain by it?
This reminds me of, is it in South America with the stones that have like dinosaurs?
The Ica stones. Yeah. I got to see some of those in person.
Yeah, this reminds me of that.
Yeah,
a little bit of that. Now, to play a little bit of devil's advocate again, there may or may not be two members of this podcast that spend hours and hours and hours painting miniature figures.
Yes, that is true.
So, you know, people have weird hobbies. That's all
true.
I'm saying.
That's definitely true. One last thing I want to point out, I think Poppins did a good job of this. Like, when you initially hear about Burroughs' actions with the cave, it sounds totally erratic and it makes the story sound less believable. But he basically said, number one, no regular person is ever prepared to make a discovery of that magnitude out of nowhere. Number two, what I know that maybe some people who don't read these types of books don't know is it is actually illegal today for a private citizen to do any excavation of an archaeological site. So even if you find a site like this on your own land, after you report it to whatever college or university institution you want to, you basically got to be hands off and you have to let them do it. And the men and women who come in, if they're open-minded, they might carefully excavate and try to figure out what new mysteries it solves. But if they're closed-minded, they might actually do their best to try to destroy everything you found.
Yeah.
Like earlier in the book, he talks about a number of times, otherwise very credible scientific expeditions, well-known men and women scientists have been caught basically like planting artifacts at different sites, destroying artifacts that essentially don't match the overall mainstream view of human history because there's just so damn much peer pressure in this field.
Yeah.
It's an interesting. I mean, it's definitely an interesting story. Throughout the discussion and when Brock was looking up, at first, I was really like, that is crazy. They named them all these Egyptian things,
right?
But then it's like, it seems like they named them that well before this guy ever
Yeah,
found this cave. So now I'm like, are people just trying to make a connection to fit their narrative? That like, you know, they have these.
And it also,
Yeah,
it would make it to me. It would make sense that this guy would name all of them in that area, like Egyptian, Hindu. Like he was just on a temple kick that day. Like it'd be interesting to see if, you know, another section 2 months later he named and they were all cheeses or something. You know what I mean? Like he named them all after something else. So like it would be interesting to see what his naming techniques were like.
Yeah, I can't just be like, oh, it's BS.
Right.
Because again, I just think there's too many synchronicities. And then going back to, you know, probably what the 1000s in just the last 2 months that we've recommended it. Well, like I start thinking about cave systems.
Yes.
And it takes me back to the Hopkinsville goblins.
Yeah.
It takes, like you said about David Icke and the you know, reptilian overlord aspect, the whole Hellier thing with goblins and cave systems. Like it just makes you wonder if there's what I don't know what the answer is, but like it makes me wonder, is there something to all this? Like it's
the one thing that does have me a little skeptical about it, and I hate to be this because like you said earlier, Jay, it is like, well, that's the end of the story, is the newspaper article. And to me, it does seem, because I know that in the West, and I mean, even in just newspaper articles in general at that time frame, it was almost like very lax on facts. Like it was almost like it was more of which I mean, our news today is entertainment too.
Sure.
But it was almost like, we're going to get this out there because this is an interesting story to sell newspapers. It's not really news. It's almost like a magazine article that would have been written. And I think that at that time, it was easier to do that. And people look at newspapers and think, well, it was printed in a newspaper, so it's a fact. But I think that we forget that at that time, and like I said, even today, those stories oftentimes are written for entertainment and to sell a newspaper.
It's ironic in that I both agree with exactly what you said, but could also play devil's advocate in that if you look into Operation Mockingbird, how the CIA basically in the 50s started to work with the American news media and essentially controlled what stories were or were not allowed to be in the newspapers. You could also make the counter argument that part of the reason these stories were so fantastical in the opening decades of the 1900s is this was the last time we got to see news before government control stepped in. Maybe our world is really just that.
That's a unique point to make too. I'm running that back.
It's not really news. It's almost like a magazine article that would have been written. And I think that at that time, it was easier to do that. And people look at newspapers and think, well, it was printed in a newspaper, so it's a fact. But I think that we forget that at that time, and like I said, even today, those stories oftentimes are written for entertainment and to sell a newspaper.
It's ironic in that I both agree with exactly what you said, but could also play devil's advocate in that if you look into Operation Mockingbird, how the CIA basically in the 50s started to work with the American news media and essentially controlled what stories were or were not allowed to be in the newspapers. You could also make the counter argument that part of the reason these stories were so fantastical in the opening decades of the 1900s is this was the last time we got to see news before government control stepped in. Maybe our world is really just that magical and spectacular, and they were actually trying their best to report real stories back then, as wild as they seem.
I do think too that it's interesting, like you mentioned at the beginning. What a better explorer name! It'd be like if I was making up a story about a boxer and I named him Fifth Fist Fight. You know, like it's like that's the perfect.
Better Fifth
Yeah,
Fist Fight.
exactly.
Right.
But like it doesn't like that's exactly. Oh, it's Kincaid. What's he do? He's an explorer. Of course.
Yeah, even the two initials.
Yeah.
Go with me for a second on this one. So let's say this news story is partially false. I'm gonna just bear with me a second. Kincaid finds this cave, finds stuff that shows, ancient culture. He thinks it's Egyptian. Maybe it looks Egyptian or whatever. I'm thinking, like in pop culture, he finds like a Stargate. Because again, I can't get past this power source thing. I just can't. But he finds it. He realizes, man, this is a big deal. People are going to ask me about my expedition. He tells the paper, hey, I found some Egyptian stuff there. We're going to come check it out, whatever. Meanwhile, he tells the government there is something in this cave that needs looked out. Now suddenly it becomes a hands-off area.
Right.
No one else is there. The story's out there because he told them we found something that's out there for whoever. So the paper types up what he says, but he's concocting a cover story to cover up the really big find that he had, which wasn't, which whatever it is.
Well,
again, I've watched too many movies.
My only thing,
my
only thing with that would be, why would he? I mean, his description is vague enough, but it's also, if he's trying to keep it to where this is a big deal, his description's vague enough, but also, I mean, he kind of paints like exactly where this thing's at, for somebody that's willing to look.
Right.
Yeah, the fact that you're not allowed to go there adds a whole element. Like if it was, no one's been able to find the cave since. Okay, this guy made it up, whatever. But it's literally, if you want to try to find it, you get arrested. There's no one. I mean, like that's what's messed
in the
up.
Southwest, whether it's just Native American legend or what, they are littered with these areas. Like in northern Mexico, there is the zone of silence, where we also have unusual phenomenon. Even if you look in New Mexico, the area with the Roswell crash, the Aztec crash, like some people believe if all those crashes were real, some believe it was because the U.S. was testing a very primitive radar technology, but so primitive that an advanced civilization basically stopped guarding their own ships for it. Or once again, there's some hidden power source under the ground that they weren't expecting. And is it really a coincidence that like that's the exact area where they started to test atomic bombs? So pretty wild.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's a crazy case. The Illinois case, I think I'm more skeptical of the Illinois case because it's just seems like, and part of the issue, and like you brought it up, is you do a search for that in Google Images, but that's just you don't know if that like those are the actual images.
Right.
Like people are just using it to. I mean, and I do that as a I do that as a teacher. Like, hey, I'm trying to get something across. This might not be the actual whatever, but it illustrates what I want. I mean, I show it to the kids.
Right.
The fact that he eventually
blew it up.
Well, not even blew it up. He eventually caves and it's like, hey, okay, Mr. whatever the guy's name was, Mr. Credible Guy, you can come now after I blew it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
like, I mean, I don't know.
The fact that, and here's something, whenever you said about them finding every time they try to excavate it, they're running into groundwater. To me, that points to like a mine, like
it's filled up, right,
or something. I don't know what the geology is in that area, so if they even had coal mines in that area. But in this area, coal mines, if you find a coal mine on the hillside, you're 9 times out of 10 you're not going to be able to get into it because that's what they do with them is they either flood them or just naturally it will
Right, if
fill
they
up with water.
turn off the pumps, it'll fill up.
It'll fill up with water and then it floods itself and you can't get it.
But I think the overall premise of these stories is 100% believable. Like, I don't know why Christopher Columbus was the only one that could get here.
Right.
Like, I mean, like there's the story of, I always want to say Lars Fredrickson, but that's
Lee
the guy.
Erickson.
Lars Fredrickson's from Branson, but like
Branson.
like they're pretty sure he came here.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of evidence of
evidence
of cultures coming to the New World long before.
There's evidence.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen these are out in like California and the Pacific? Have you ever seen the weights and the anchors that are supposedly from Chinese junks?
No.
Like ancient Chinese junks that they use these specific types of anchors, and they found them off the coast of like California.
Wow.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting.
You know what's? I agree with all the devil's advocate stuff you guys said, but I also love how Brock brought up the Ica stones, because if you ever just told a person, hey, they are going to find thousands of very round stones in Central and Northern South America that have carvings of dinosaurs, even though we don't think those people knew about dinosaurs. And they aren't just going to be carvings of dinosaur skeletons. They're going to be dinosaurs with the actual skin on, still fighting each other. Like, you'd be like, no way. Like, that's absolutely nuts. But then, somehow there are the Ica stones. Yeah, exactly. I got to hold some in my hand. And, all this type of stuff, whether the weights from the Chinese junk, whether, these hieroglyphs, whether the Ica stones, it's generally all called oop art, which I think is hilarious because the root word is oops. And what's so frustrating about mainstream archaeology is you would think when something wild like this is discovered, there would just be like a massive convention. They'd be like, hey, what are we going to have to change? Yeah. But it's the exact opposite. Yeah. And it just goes against science. Like, so many of these people in the mainstream do whatever they can to basically bury it. So there's no discussion because it just doesn't fit the narrative.
I think that part of the problem, this is just me thinking, is that it's related to history, where archaeology, I think, should be more of a science. And like it should be more of a scientific based thing, but it's more of a history thing where it's like, well, we have to, they don't
Are you 28 years old?
Approach it with the full scientific method of we need to prove what this is. We need to make sure that this fits into what we already know.
That's a great point, because it's science per se, but it's almost like science where you've got to be shoehorned into specific little niches just to conform to the history. Yeah. It's like trying to serve two masters.
Yeah, and because I think part of the problem is, in order to explain the things.
Hit that like button, y'all. Support the channel, man. Hit that like button. Run them likes up. Share the live stream, man. I appreciate all the support on the channel, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Support the channel, man. It's your brother, Big Aboriginal Power. Shout out to all the American Aborigines in the chat, man. It's a blessing having y'all in here. Let's get it.
You're finding you have to use that history, so you have to have that base. But you do that with science, anyways. You have to have those bases that you are using to base all of your stuff off of. But then, if you find something that goes outside of that norm or whatever, you then try to figure out why to explain that. Instead, they're like, this was just, there's a bottle cap here. Well, that's obviously somebody just sat it there.
Right.
It's that, what I mean?
And the thing with history, too, is history gets repeated enough, whether that's what really happened or not, that becomes and I'm going to use a very relatively modern day, 1980s, 1990s example. I've listened to this podcast I like. It's about music, and they did a big series on the Ramones, and they relate. It's the story that's told all the time that Dee Dee Ramone, they went to visit Stephen King. Stephen King's a big fan of the Ramones. They went to visit Stephen King. They were hanging out, and Stephen King was like, "What's your favorite book that I wrote?" And Dee Dee said, "My favorite's Pet Sematary." They sat down in the basement, were hanging out, and within 20 minutes, he had written the Ramones song "Pet Sematary," which ends up being used in the That's the story told Dee Dee's autobiography. It's told by everyone. Well, Stephen King was interviewed many years later, said they'd never been to my house ever. Like that never happened ever. But then Stephen King's quote was, "But print the legend."
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to debate it. Yeah. It's a great story. Let that become the historical story. And
now, that being said, Stephen King also doesn't remember
that's
writing
true.
an entire book.
So he might have been high on cocaine. But the point is just that, like, you tell a story enough, then that becomes the accepted story, right, whether that's really what happened or not. And so these people that, like you said, with it being looped towards having to conform to history, well, that's not the history that was told. Yeah. So this can't be the case. Yeah. Regardless if this cave actually exists or not, the general premise, I'm 100% on board. And like, I don't know why. Yeah. And it goes back. We've talked about it a lot in this podcast. Why we think the ancient cultures couldn't handle traversing the ocean. Yeah. Why we just think that nope, they couldn't do it. Like, it took
there's, and I wish I could remember who said it, but there's a quote, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but basically, we think that ancient people are dumb. Even Neanderthals, we think that Neanderthals are dumb. And the thinking now is, even Neanderthals, if you were able to take the first modern human being, like first physically modern human being, brought them to modern day, and showed them, your iPhone, and you said to them, "This is how it works," they'd be able to understand it because they're the same. It's the same person. It's like we're the same all the way throughout. So it's foolish of us to think that we wouldn't understand. You could navigate the ocean, or you could do these different things. It's foolish to think that just because we have a magnetic compass. Well, people had figured out how to navigate prior to having a magnetic compass,
Yeah, and again, going back, we could go on for hours, get late, but the one thing, going back to the cave thing, you said Coppin said that they probably came in Central America, found the Mississippi, and came up or whatever. Like, how close is this? How close this cave is to the Mississippi?
No, I don't.
Oh, because the question, because it just goes back to lugging this sarcophagus around.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like, why not just? If it's all true, why not? Well, why not set up shop off the banks of the Mississippi?
Even if you wanted to go 100 miles up the Mississippi, just to make sure you're safe.
Why you go all the way to Illinois? Is odd to me.
Yeah. And it's and like I said, there are millions of other places that you could put this thing without.
Hey, man, with that being said, man, I'm going to end the live stream right there, man. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed the build. Hopefully, y'all got some good information out of it, dealing with the Egyptian artifacts found in America. More predominantly in the Grand Canyon, in the midst of other artifacts that was allegedly found there and documented by the Smithsonian Institution. So yeah, man, make sure y'all hit that like button, support the channel, man. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. Cash out tags at the bottom right of the screen. If y'all enjoyed the build, let our original power know y'all enjoyed it, man. The cash out tags at the bottom right of the screen. I do appreciate everybody for tapping in. With that being said, we out of here. Make sure y'all be safe, be aware, stay vigilant, stay dangerous. It's your brother Original Power, and we out. Peace.
Suave on the track.
Whatever it takes. Alleyway.
Coco, this your season right now.
They won't see me. They won't let me yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid. Yeah. I won't let them yeah. They won't see me yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid. Yeah. I can't let them yeah. They won't see me yeah. I put attention, all of my blood, all of my veins. They started with Perky, now that hair right up his veins. You started with serving, now them drugs drove you insane. Started with dealing, I grew up with killers, they taught me the game. I got some niggas that die behind, and that shit won't never the same. I know some niggas that lie behind, and that bullet had his name. Ain't no reason to cry about, cause that shit won't never change. MTF the 4th and P, my niggas can't get out the game. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid. Yeah. I won't let them yeah. They won't see me yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid. Yeah. I can't let them yeah. They won't see